Welcome back to Dear Rochester, Retire Well. Here's your host, certified financial planner and CEO of 6 Point Financial Partners, Dave Pulsini.
Welcome back, folks. Today we are here with Jason Amato from Takedown, Eventures. This podcast is sponsored by, what is it, American Crew Hair Gel, hairspray? Not really. Look at us. This is awesome. If you're not watching, it's all I can see is my hair and Jason's hair. This is beautiful. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. I'm doing great. Happy to be with you.
Yeah. So, quick background, and then I want you to tell the story of your companies. We met because I was invited to an event by a fund company. So, as financial advisors, maybe let me take a step back. This is what we do all day. We show up at events and we shoot at things, right? So, let me turn my phone off. Your company helps set up events. We show up. I walked into this thing, no idea what to expect, and you have a whole crew of people. You've got this stuff set up. We go out for the day. We're making stuff happen. But can you explain the process of Takedown Eventures? And it was, I'll just say this. It was awesome. I was pumped to be there, and the guys that went with us were begging me to have you on the podcast. So here we are.
Awesome. Yeah, I said, for the listeners, picture a traveling rock show, but instead of guitars, we're putting bow and arrows and tomahawks and really good food in people's hands. And so we kind of come alongside businesses, small businesses, corporations, teams, and put together an experience. We call it an environment of engagement. Really, as you become an adult, we lose our playgrounds. We lose, metaphorically, our places just to be ourselves and hang out. And it's really good for businesses and brands to be able to just take some time out of their day, whether you're inviting potential clients, you're thanking current clients, you just want to hang out with your team and put them in an environment almost like the first day at college where no one's puffing their chest out saying, I golf 4 days a week. Well, I don't. No one's thrown a tomahawk in the past week. Most people haven't flinged an arrow in the past week ever done in their life. And so we just come alongside as a powerful resources to businesses and brands to create this environment of engagement where people can come and experience archery, crossbows, tomahawks, good food, great camaraderie. And we travel all over the country with these 30-foot tour trailers, going from city to city, place to place, and just wherever the phone call rings, we show up.
How did you have the idea to start this?
Yeah, it was, I didn't grow up around that stuff. So I was an Italian around Chicago. So bow and arrows, all that was very foreign to me. My dad was a corporate attorney. It was kind of business and sports. And then a gentleman hijacked my life, I like to say. His name was Tori, and he approached me and my buddy one day and said, hey, you guys hit baseballs, you wear suits, you do that kind of stuff. Have you ever shot a bow and arrow? And I'm like, dude, who does that? I mean, we're from Chicago, Italians, this and that. But I trusted him. He's a gold glove boxer, just kind of a tough guy. I wasn't around that growing up. And he put a bow in my hand. It changed my life. I fell in love with archery, started doing that, actually professionally from a hunting side, doing bow hunts on NBC Sports, Versus Network, and that was great. Look at me, Mom, really cool. But there was a lot of passion and no practicality. At the same time, I'm a city slicker, so I'm the suit and tie. I'm with the Ken and Barbie doll friends of mine, we like to call them. And we started just putting bows in people's hands. We started putting tomahawks and all these just fun things. And my wife's got her high heels and skirt, and she's, doing it with her Charlie's Angel girls. And we just started seeing people light up. And at the Takedown, we call it educate, excite, empower. You educate somebody a little bit, you get them excited, then you empower them. It's just good things happen. And we started just seeing people come alive. And so one day I was just having conversations with my friends in corporate America and owning businesses and saying, what are you doing for sales teams? What are you doing for customer acquisition, customer retention, team building? And they're like, golf outings, sporting skyboxes, the sporting games, or wine and dines. And I'm like, well, what if we could recreate what you're feeling, which is empowerment, and use it for your business, your small business, big business, whatever. And they said, go for it. And that was actually started out of our garage. Me and 2 other guys started that in a little town called Bloomingdale, and it's now grown to something we do all over the country.
That's how many guys can you accommodate?
Yeah, so it depends on experiences. We have 3 basic packages. If you want to keep it really simple, we have a U experience, which is our ultimate. And that's a 5-hour deal. We're bringing the shotguns. We're doing the sporting Ks, blowing up the orange clays, got a meal, and then 4 primitive, we call them stations, crossbows, tomahawks, all that, and prizes. That we cap out at about 100 to 120 people. That's going to be more your high level, high end, wine and dine your top people. So that's what that one looks like, both budget and accommodating. Then you got kind of our middle tier, which is more your team build. This is everybody knows each other, rah, 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 instead of a solo cup and a golf ball rolling down a gutter and saying that's team building fun. No, that's stupid. That's not fun for anybody. This is actually team building where you're competing as a team and rotating between 4 stations. That's a 2-hour experience. We've done as many as 300 people or 600 people over a 2-day time period. And it could be done inside and outdoors. And then finally, our most basic is, hey, I'm throwing a Christmas party. I'm getting married. Instead of the boas with taking the picture and putting on the goofy glasses, let's fling some arrows. And so whether it was like the 85 Chicago Bears to whatever, we can set up in a cocktail lounge, women in high heels and skirts, guys 3-piece suits, everybody having fun. They can rent a station that comes with a guide and everything that we do with the Educate, Excite, Empower, just not as intimate of an experience, more like they're hiring us for a flat fee for that particular time. This weekend, we just had a giant one for a donut manufacturer. It does donuts all over the country, and there was hundreds of people there. So it just kind of depends on what the experience is for how many people we can accommodate.
So 600 people in 2 days consistently. What's the craziest thing that you've seen with 600 people shooting arrows and tomahawks and guns?
Yeah, probably. There's hasn't been that many crazy things with guns. With the bow and arrows, I've had a couple of people try shooting aerial archery with their eyes closed. It never goes.
Yeah, we had a guy that was in our group that was, and there's no judgment at these things, by the way, and that was great. But he was shooting, I don't even know how he got an arrow to where he got it, but it was all safe, right?
All safe. And we leave the first question, right, is, sharp objects. Is this safe? How does this thing work? We have 0 accident track record in over 10 years. And actually, if you looked up the Department of Insurance, this was fascinating, man, when I first got into this. I didn't understand how this worked. They actually rate sports and different sporting events in our country. And archery is second to like table tennis for the safest and durable thing literally they do. And we tell people we have little room for error. Like there's no room for error. I mean, one screw up and it makes us look horrible. We get a black eye. We're out of business. So we've been very cautious and very reflective of, hey, who do we work with? What environments are we in? And it's just really, people are so excited. They're so psyched out of their mind. They realize that they're going to have a really good time. They need to be respectful of what we're doing.
Yeah. So you guys, have you done a wedding before? Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's so cool.
Think about it. We've all been to weddings, right? You go, you do that, you're expecting horrible chicken, and you're waiting around trying to do casual talk with people putting boas around their necks and the big glasses. That's about it. So we come in, and these wedding parties hire us, and we got tomahawks out in the grass. We got the aerial archery machines with the foam tips inside, and they show up after their pitches like, we've been missing the party. We got our pictures taken, but their guests are having a blast. And so it's a really great just alternative to engage people, and everybody's going to have a good experience. Because when you sit there and you watch an athlete or you do something or you golf, golfing, I guess it's you doing it, but you go to so many things and you don't walk away empowered. It's like, that was a good concert or that was a good dinner. These, you walk away, and you can attest to this. You felt yourself get better at things, and that kind of ties into our what is your why, one of the main things that we preach on. But you walk away feeling good about yourself. So our clients are like, hey, not only were those people happy, they saw that they were valued by me inviting them, but they left actually empowered, and they're stoked. They're telling their friends, and all that does is point back to the person that hired them.
That's so cool. So I show up at this event. I, again, no idea what to expect. You pop out and make a speech, and I'm like, what are we doing right now? I had no idea what we were in for. But before we get into that speech, because I want to talk about your Hill Takers Foundation, you have groups of experts that do this. Like the guy that we had, I think he rode his bike from Chicago to Rochester. That's what your guys do.
Well, it helps us save money too. I don't got to pay for airplanes. So yeah, so one of our value props is people. We want to surround ourselves with the greatest people. And in doing so, when I first started this with two of my buddies, we didn't know what we were doing, right? We were just like, we'll just throw some stuff in a trailer. I didn't have a truck at the time. We used a painting trailer and truck to get us to this field. And our thing was just, let's put on an awesome experience like we would if we were throwing a party in our backyard. We did it. And at the end of it, this guy was like, it was actually a guy from Thriving Financial, a good friend of mine, and asked us to try one. And he's like, Jason, I've never seen people have so much fun, feel so loved, not feel judged. You know, your typical thing of like, I'm not good at golf, or I'm not good. I go to a shooting club and I feel like I don't know the lingo. Everybody felt accepted, woman, man, you name it. And I was faced with the challenge of our best value prop, our biggest testimonials didn't come from the what. It came from the people. It wasn't, hey, tomahawks are so cool, bows are so cool. It was, Tom's a stud. And he had no ego to him. I'm in an ego-driven area my whole life. Or Bill, he had a resume a mile long. He didn't laud it on me at all. He was just concerned about me and my family and life and having fun. And it hit me. I said, well, what if I ask the question? I can't do the normal business model because my buddies that are CEOs, CFOs, I can't pay all them to be in the same room and travel with me. There's no way I can meet their salary. And that's how normal, businesses said you have to have your CEO, your CFO. That's how it is. But what if we took more of a nonprofit type model in the for-profit business of let's cast a vision bigger than ourselves. If we truly believe what we say, that we want to get America outside, we want to educate, excite, and empower people. If I can get my friends to get behind that, and I can get more men and women that I meet along on tour when we go to say, this is really cool, well, then I can develop a Rolodex of names that I can say, hey, look, we need 7 guides for this event. Or we're going on a tour across upstate New York. I need 6 guides. And that's what's happened over the years. It's not easy. It's our biggest obstacle to find guys because it's not their full-time job. But it's also our greatest value prop. When you show up, you didn't know what to expect, right? You get there, you're like, he's a bunch of Paul Bunyans, pack of wolves. Well, yeah, they know the outdoors inside and out, but they're well-spoken. They're well-educated. Some own schools that are principals. Some are ex-politicians. Some are lawyers. Some are doctors. Some are accountants. We have the whole gamut of people that basically says, this is America. We represent all different shapes and sizes of walks of life, but we're coming here with the common goal to serve you and to educate, excite, and empower you. And so for the past 10 years, we've had 0 employees. Every single person that shows up because they want to. They're an actual independent contractor. And so that's kind of how our system is set up currently.
That's interesting. And you're totally right. I walked in, I'm like, oh, what are we in for? And then it was one person after another introducing themselves. A lot of folks are uncomfortable doing that. You guys, you must have done it 10 million times because these guys had their speeches nailed. There was food up there. There's other stuff going on. I was like, all right, this is cool. When you started your talk on your end of it, you did this part of it. Then you started talking about which hill do you want to take, which couldn't resonate more perfectly with what I'm dealing with, which it's a good problem to have. Talk about your Hill Takers Foundation. Then I got a couple questions on that.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. We have 2 parts to the talk, and we kind of catch people off guard. We want to like under promise, over deliver. You're coming thinking you're just blowing stuff up. You're like, wait a second, I got to listen to someone talk. What's going to happen? But we talk about everything should be purposeful. There has to be passion and purpose. And so we want every experience people to have something to think about. And so the first one I kind of hit on is it's Simon Sinek made it famous back in the day, identify your why. But at Hill Takers, we say identify your why, and ours is we want to create environments of engagement to educate, excite, and empower our guests. Why? Because there's no better way to maximize your message, your impact to your clients as advisors, your potential clients as advisors, or your son's baseball team than these 3 E's. If I can quickly educate you in 30 seconds of how you can benefit from me, whether it's a joke, whether it's what I can do, I'm going to get the hook enough to get you to the second E, which is excite. Never in our history have people been more bombarded with noise. And if we don't quickly get them focused, they may be standing physically, but you're fooling yourself if you think they're actually listening. We got to get people to the second E. The problem with the second E is most people in brands, businesses, advisors I talk to all over the country, they land and they stay there. Excitement's a great place to be. It's a horrible tragedy to end because all that becomes is a pep rally. I don't want to be a part of pep rally, and neither should any of your listeners. Why? You're all running your own things. And every marketing research shows if all you do is excite people, they're going to forget about you in 72 hours. The business brands, the advisors, the firms, they figure out creative ways to empower people, like our experiences. People walk away with pictures. They walk away with things they're putting on Facebook. They leave empowered. They're talking about you when you're on the golf course. They're talking about you when you go to bed at night. They're ambassadors for your brand, what you're doing, what you're selling. So we start them off there. We kind of knock them off their feet that. And then we kind of go into the second part is identify the hills in your life that need to be taken. Now, what's the context behind that? We started a nonprofit last year called the Hill Taker Foundation. And it's specifically centered around men and identifying in their lives hills that need to be taken. I would pose the question, or I'd pose the statement that every single one of us, man or woman, wake up in the morning and we're at war. We wake up and there are hills that are inhabited by the enemy. There are hills that need to be taken. There's injustices. There's all these things. And it's our job to identify them and take them. And so that's how we started the Hill Takers, the actual Hill Takers Foundation. And so what it is we're guiding men from where they are to where God created them to be. And so you say, well, what's a hill? Well, a hill could look a bunch of different ways. One, it could be a personal hill. Some people, it's a relationship. They're either dating somebody, they're married to their spouse. And could it be better? Probably. I don't care how great your marriage is. You can make it better. So they identify that. It could be you're a parent and you have children. Maybe you're a good parent, but maybe it's not to be a great parent. Maybe you're sucking right now at it, and that's okay. We all have our seasons. I'm a parent of 4 kids, but I know I can do better. It might be relationships with your neighbors. It might be relationships with buddies you haven't kept up with in a while. It's nice to reach out, see what they're up to. So it could be a relational hill. It could also be a vocational hill. Look, we deal with a lot of things like COVID. We got cultural, social things, so many things going on in our world. And what I've found over the years is it's very easy to coast, especially during like COVID. There was a lot of financial advisors that were just sitting in their underwear in the basement, doing nothing. They were just doing what they had done. They weren't growing their business, just kind of doing that. And it was like, but then there was the great ones. There were the ones that were like, I'm still doing the same thing I was doing before, during, and after the storm. And that's what all the great ones in life, in sports, and business do. And so vocationally, it might be, you know what, Jason, I've been running my book of business for 20 years, maybe 5 years ago. Maybe I need to take a fresh approach and just build things up. I need to look things a little differently. Look outside the box. Maybe I need to bring more people onto my team. Maybe I need to look at my team as people I can invest in. I have so many people call me philanthropy-wise. I just want to do more for our world. And my first question is, what are you doing for the people next to you? What are you doing for the neighbor next to you? What are you doing for your coworkers? Because right there's a right field where people have issues, problems in life that maybe you can just have a conversation or a cup of coffee with them. It doesn't have to be brain surgery. It's just investing in those relationships. So it could be vocationally. And then finally, it could be communal-wise. It could be a social injustice. I tell people all the time, one of the greatest times in my life was about 7 years ago. We were living in this community in Bloomingdale, Illinois, and we started identifying our mailbox as a place to impact people. You say, well, what do you mean? Well, usually as Americans, we run to our mailbox, we grab our mail and go running back. I don't want to talk to Tom, Steve, Tina, all that. I got my own problems. We said, well, what if we just spend some time and just saw what was going on in our neighborhood? And here's what's fascinating. We found really quickly that I haven't seen Joe in a month. And I see Tina walking out every day and getting the garbage and mail. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe she needs some help. Maybe we should go over and talk to her. Maybe there's something that other people aren't seeing. I don't know what that is, but there's social hills that could be taken in your area, and communal hills that's going on. So it's identifying those hills, and then the whole backdrop of it, we're working on this whole Hill Takers guide that people can actually go through. It's a 7-week deal. Was people were asking me early on, how do I know if I'm a hill taker, and how can I become a hill taker? And so we came up, we actually got these bracelets now I was showing you, the POWER acronym. And what I identified is that you want to know when you're in the presence of a hill taker. You want to know if you are a hill taker. You feel their power. You feel their power. Now, people quickly nowadays, like power has been misused. It's been law. I mean, there's been a lot of bad things done with power. But let me explain what I mean by that. When a hill taker, I say they possess power, they possess 5 key traits that identify them as hill takers. So if you want to be a hill taker, this is what you got to actually have going on in your life. First, let's start with P. They have a different perspective. Go back to whether it was storms of COVID, storms politically, professionally, whatever it is in your life. There's storms that happen, things happen. When I'm around people that are hill takers, I'm talking to them and I'm like, well, they just saw it differently. I saw advisors that you got pick up. Things are up and down. It's a roller coaster ride. I talk to y'all, and it's volatile. Well, I talk to those some reps that are all our advisors all over the board, and others are like, I'm staying true. I'm true to the core. You know what? There's opportunity here. There's opportunity here. They see life differently. They have a different perspective. You have to be a hill taker. They have an offensive mindset. Hill takers wake up and they know transformation doesn't happen in the valleys. It happens on the climb up the hills. A hill taker understands that, in order to be the best husband, father, whatever you call it, leader, I need to take care of my body. Can't just let that slide and go to waste. I need to improve myself. I need to read. I need to listen to podcasts. I need to do things to better myself if I'm going to get to where I want to go. A hill taker is looking around and waking up and saying, my marriage could be better. My relationships could be better. My business could be better. My community, my street, my neighborhood could be better. They have an offensive mindset. W, a hill taker is wholeheartedly devoted to their cause. You look at any of these sports documentaries of these Hall of Famers, what do you see? From the moment they woke up to the moment they went to bed for however long their career was, they were wholeheartedly devoted. You don't sit with business moguls and like, you know what, I came up with this idea and I just sent this to somebody and I'm just now on a yacht. No, they work at their craft. Usually it's the guys that don't need to work at it that work at it the most. They could be cruising, but there's this drive inside of them. They have such a devotion to what they believe and do to their core. And I love being around business leaders that do that. I love being around athletes. I love being around dudes that are like, I'm really into my marriage. I really want to honor my wife. I really want to be the best father for my kids. That fires me up. They're wholeheartedly devoted. Because it gets too hard. You can't climb those hills because you're going to turn back. If you don't have a clear vision, they say where there's no vision, the people perish. If you don't have a clear vision, you're never going to be able to fight through storms when things get tough. So they're wholeheartedly devoted. E, this is countercultural. There's every book on the shelf. The past 10 years is like the decade of leadership. The decade of every possible thing on how to improve. And it's not just leadership, it's abs, it's fitness, it's money, it's every possible thing. All of those, hear me out, are good things. They're almost on the verge. They're great things to go after. They're not ultimate things. And the problem is that if you and I've seen this with so many business owners and people, you get into all this stuff and you put the blinders on and you build yourself up. You do all those things. That's good. But at the end of the day, you come to a bottleneck, and the bottleneck is you. Because you've built everything based on your strength, your knowledge, your credibility, your everything. And you can't go to exponential growth because you haven't brought other people up with you. I sit with other advisors that are on the tail end of their career. We're talking about, how are we going to do succession? What is that going to look like for my family? Finances? How am I passing on? You've been building everything up here, and you haven't thought about the future. And so a hill taker is taking such big hills. I was with a guy the other day, says, my dream, my audacious goal is to make $100 million and pass it on to my children to have to give to different nonprofits. What an audacious goal. That guy is a hill taker. Every other area of his life, I'd say he's a hill taker. It's no joke that's what he's thinking. How is he empowering? But he's got a team, and he's constantly adding more people and more surrounding himself with great people, even more smarter than him, because he wants to have this hill with this team that he can take, and his goals are so audacious, he better empower others. He will never reach their goals. I tell people, if you can look around your life today and you listen to this, and you look at all your relationships, all your professional endeavors, all your personal endeavors, and every one of them, you're like, cool, I got no butterflies, everything's good, then you're probably not taking big enough hills. If you can do it all in your own strength, you'd better surround yourself with a great team. And that's what we do at Takedown Eventures. It's bringing just awesome guys. I don't even got to be there. These guys just rock it out. What is that for you? How can you identify that as an advisor and for your teams to build your brand and your business by empowering others? And finally, R. This is the linchpin of everything. You cannot be a hill taker. You will fall flat on your face if you don't have the final one, which is R. It's ruthless trust. A hill taker's taking big hills, right? So we're taking these big hills, and I've been called to I want to build my business. I see it. I want to build my body. I want to build my marriage. I want to build whatever it is I want to build. I see that. But we know all too well, we start going towards it, the rain clouds come in. The storms come in. And I don't exactly know every day how I'm getting. I know where I'm headed. I'm pointed north. But I don't always have the blueprint every day of the overall plan. And so it's in those moments that hill takers ruthlessly trust. They put the next foot out in front of you. It's the only foot that's actually eliminated as their next step. And they say, I'm going to trust my people. Well, if you didn't empower others, you got no one to trust. I'm going to trust my people. I'm going to trust my processes. All this education, listening to great podcasts like yours, reading books, diving into better yourself. I'm going to trust this because I'm reading about things I've trained myself up for moments like this. You know, they always say with the Navy SEALs, they never rise to the challenge, they fall to the level of their training. So that's what happens in those moments. You fall to all your training, your processes. And all the advisors out there, they're going to these seminars, they're going to these different things, they're listening to stuff like this. Use it. Be like a sponge, because when the tough times hit, that's what gets you through. So they trust their people, their product, their process, and products. Who do you surround yourself with? At Takedown, we look for the best products in the industry. Sometimes it's not the best cost-effective option for us, but we know, and we show up in New York, we show up in California, we show up and we unload our trailer with all the fun stuff, or we have an issue with some piece of equipment. I know I can trust customer service. I know the stuff I can rely on. I've trusted it. I know it's going to take care of me, even though it may look a little dicey that particular day. A hill taker has to have ruthless trust. And so that's our power acronym. And that's something that really is a grid for people to say, hey, it's a check-in. I've had guys calling me being like, this is now my monthly check-in. I'm going through the actual power acronym to just check in on how my life's going. And so we're going to continue to take hills. We're going to continue to go and empower people through Takedown Eventures. But yeah, we're also just as passionate about being hill takers. And what would the world look like if there was a hill taker in every home, there was a hill taker in every business, and there was a hill taker in every street? Our world would look a lot different.
I didn't want to interrupt for 1 second. That is exactly why I wanted to have you on, man. I appreciate that. I could take every part of that and ask 20 different questions, but we only have time for maybe two. The listeners out there, let's say things aren't going well. Let's go in that direction. How do they know what hill to take first? Everything's a hill. What do we do first to take that first step?
That's great, because people, I mean, at least me, I want to bite off everything at once, you can't. So you got to start with your core, and I would lay out, just like as a little kid when your dad would say, hey, pluses and minuses, what decision to make. It applies to people running Fortune 500 companies. I've met with these guys. It's like, let's identify the hills and which one we got to prioritize those hills. So you have to make a priority. And that doesn't happen in 10 minutes with pen and paper. Put it on a paper, think about it, put an actual order of priority, and bounce it off a couple people around you. Because you might say, oh man, the biggest hill right now is this, should I hire this person for the office, this and that? And at the same time, you are in a horrible health. Like the doctors are saying, like, you got to get things taken care of. Well, I don't care if you hire Tom over here to come work for you. If you fall apart and have a heart attack, or you can't get out of bed, you can't be functional, none of that matters. And so I think there's a priority of you have to first lead yourself as a leader. I can't be the husband I've been called to be if I'm unhealthy. I can't be if I'm worried about finances. That there's certain things that need to be taken care of. So it's customizable. There's not like one defined answer. And that's why we sit down with people, and I have so many conversations of tell me what your hills are and let's identify them. It's probably not the first hill to take if you have 5 hills that are burning and you're like, oh, I think I need to be taking out the garbage every week for Tina. Maybe right now you need to make sure your kids, why they're not talking to you. Let's first win the home before we can have. You can't give what you don't got. I heard that. A guy told that to me a long time ago. Always resonated with me. People, they see through. We're in a society that's all just surfacey and shiny without a lot of substance. I can't give what I don't have. And so you'll be able to identify what hill get to that next hill and have longevity.
I love it, man. Listen, what is it? The saying is that the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So we got to find the main thing and take the hill. So that's number one. Number two, hill takers. If you are a hill taker, and our listeners that are that personality that you just described, the people around them probably think they're crazy. How do they deal with that? And then how do they find other hill takers?
Yeah, it's great. Leadership can be lonely. You've heard that before, and it is. A lot of hill takers are visionaries, and we know with visionaries, you're already living in the next. You're living in the future. You're living at like what your office could look like, what your portfolio could look like, what your relationship could look like, and it's very tough for other people to be able to pick up, especially if they don't have that mindset or in hill takers. So one is endurance. You can't read a biography of any great leader, man or woman, that didn't have to fight through adversity and deal with grit. There's just no sugarcoating that. If you live a life of a hill taker, there is going to be opposition. There's going to be challenging people that just don't get it. So one is the encouragement to press on. You just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Two is find tangible ways to help people see the problem. We're too quick to give the solution, but if people aren't sold on the problem, they're never going to follow you. So you have to identify. You look at great leaders that have built great things, built walls in like the early centuries. They had to first explain to the people why there was a problem. If you don't explain to the frog that the pot's boiling, why is he going to jump out? And so we're really quick to solve. I mean, I love solving everything, right? I get real quick like, hey guys, wouldn't it be great to get our business bigger? Wouldn't it be great to get our relationship better? Like, okay. But if they don't understand the why behind it, it goes back to that why. If they don't understand why and that there is a problem, well, then they're not going to want to get to the solution. So hill takers need to take a step back and clearly identify, Houston, there's a problem. We need to be a solution to the problem. And the final piece of that is invite them into being part of the solution. As hill takers, there's a lot of personality types. Like, I got it all. I got the plan. All right, here's the problem. Here's the solution. Follow me. No. Back to empower others. It's going to be an easier road for you to see these hills be taken if you can give some ownership. We've moved a couple times over the past 5 years. We've had a couple different moves. And the way that we've connected with our neighbors the best is actually to ask for help. I hate it. I'm like, no, I need to be like, come into the community show. I'm here to love them. I'm here for that. It's exact opposite. It's going to my neighbor Barney when I was in Blooming. Like, Barney, he's 70 years old. I'm like, I need some help in my backyard. He's like, dude, I'd love to help you. And all of a sudden we start this relationship where I don't have all the answers. When you show transparency and vulnerability, people are hearing what's going on. These hill taker tribes we're building, and men are meeting and having these like just raw, authentic conversations. They're walking away, and it's funny. They'll be like, my buddy's like, what's all the secret sauce? They're like, bro, we just sat in a warehouse and just talked about real life. What else? We just talked. Jason doesn't have all the answers, but he's there and he's real and authentic, or Steve or Blake or Tim or whoever's leading this stuff. And so the vulnerability to say, hey, look, first I've identified we have a problem. Invitation, I want you to be a part of the solution. And can you give me some of your thoughts and ideas of how we can take this hill?
I wish we had another hour, man. This flew. I mean, we're 33 minutes into this. It flew by. I want to respect your time.
I'm getting fired up, man. I'm ready to go to New York. Let's do this.
I'm just going to wake up every morning and push play on this episode. It's going to be great. My wife's going to love it. How can the folks find you for both the Hill Takers and Takedown Adventures?
Yeah. Few ways. Email Jason, real simple, at Takedown Eventures with an E, like an event, not adventures. Jason at takedowneventures.com. Got a lot of info. It's got my personal cell phone on it because I believe in the personal touch. So they can reach out both phone and email there. And then Hill Takers, it's info at hilltakers.org. With that, starting it last year, our website kind of sucks. It's not a good looking Hill Takers one. It's just, hey, we got it up. It's a 501c3. It appeases the IRS. Looks good there with that. We're in the process of a branding where they're going to build something out great. But either one of those, info at hilltakers.org or Jason at takedowneventures.com. And I'd love to continue the conversation with people.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, I'm going to get some inquiries about what you guys do. I'll make sure to send folks your way. We're going to post a video of our event. We'll put the highlight video up there. It's got me throwing a tomahawk. It's beautiful. That was my one thing that I was good at on that. And then we'll do that. And then I have a separate video of me shooting at a fake turkey. That's a pretty funny video of watching me try to make it happen. So listen,
you can let people know that we're now, it's been taking off. So we're actually now, corporations are calling, and I'm coming out and speaking to their teams. And then we're doing an activity while they're all excited and ready. Not just saying we're going to go hit a golf ball, but we actually then can incorporate that. But we're also doing not just events, but speaking engagements, and then putting them on a program with the whole power acronym to work with their leaders.
Listen, man, anybody that's listened this far, which I think everybody is, we can see why they would do that with you. We appreciate your time, man. Folks, make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Dear Rochester Retire Well podcast. If you would like to hear more about financial planning services offered by 6 Point Financial Partners, please call us at 585-485-6048 or email us at dpulsini@sixpointfp.com. Make it a great day. Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG. A registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.